everyone, and welcome back to a tanking TLDR for all of Tier 11. We're going to start off with Bastion, then Throne, then Blackwing, and I'm going to have everything timestamped. Now all of these bosses are in Heroic, but you can use them for normal too, it's just a lot less damage. We're going to start off with Halfus. As the main tank you pick up Halfus, and the off tank will pick up the Drakes, the kill order Stormrider, Whelps, Nether Siren, and Time. You can swap Time and Whelps as you see fit. You need to be pretty liberal of using defensive cooldowns here. I would suggest stacking them. As your stacks increase, you want to reset the first amount of stacks at about 10 or 11 with defensive cooldowns, and you do that with Blessing of Protection. After which you want to taunt swap while you take a Drake, or take two Drakes, and the off tank will pick up Halfus, and you keep doing that until you get a kill. Dodge fire, kill Drakes first, and interrupt when you can. That's pretty much it for tanks. On to the next boss. Moving on to Valiona and Theralion Heroic. As a tank, we want to move the bosses at the start with Lust to the center of the room for Cleave, for the classes that can Cleave, that Alley Shaman for example. It's pretty simple as a tank here. You're going to get 5 stacks. When you get 5 stacks, you want to go down and kill mobs. And that's when the taunt swap occurs. When you go down, the off tank will pick up the boss that's currently phased, and you will try to kill as many ads as you can safely without dying. If you're going to die, come back out. That will reset your stacks. Pull Theralion to the sides of the room to leave the middle empty, and dodge Flame Breath from Valiona when she casts it, as you can see now. Rinse and repeat, and that's the kill. Ascendant Council Heroic. Pop army at the start, and one tank take Faludius, the other Ignatius, and you're just going to tank one boss each for the entirety of the boss encounter. Face the boss away for phase 1. Interrupt Hydrolance from Faludius when he casts it, and when Faludius is about to cast Glaciate, pull Faludius away. That's phase 1 for tanks. Phase 2, pick up a boss each and move them to the center of the room. We found that tornadoes and the grounded debuff locations spawn closer to the middle when you pull them to the middle of the room. The order for getting debuffs is always tornado first, wait for the quake cast, then take grounded, and rinse and repeat. Make sure no casts go off for this strategy. On to phase 3. In phase 3, pick up the big guy, cut him out of the puddles around the room, making sure melee have enough room to DPS the boss. Pretty easy for a tank. On to the next boss. Okay, we're on to Cho'gall Heroic. Pretty easy tank fight again. For the main mechanic is a tank swap at every Fury of Cho'gall, which you're going to see right now. The tank not tanking Cho'gall at this point can pick up the aberrations. It can be useful to move Cho'gall towards the Shadow ad or the Flame ad for passive cleave. Should have plenty of time to kill them by doing so like that. The off tank can bring in the Adherent for passive cleave, making sure it's interrupted the whole time into melee. After the Adherence is about 30%, take the ad out towards the sides of the room to die, and the range can finish it off while interrupting as well. That's it for phase 1. And in phase 2, you want to position Cho'gall to be on top of the tentacles as they spawn. You can do this by either tanking the boss on top of them or moving Cho'gall into a hole by the throne of the wall, into the little cubby holes. That way all the tentacles spawn, and melee can cleave and interrupt them. Otherwise just move them over it so melee can do the same. At 7% ignore and get a kill. Alright, we're on to Sinestra. We want to reset the boss by using a Hunter's Feign Death, so we get a fresh start when the boss starts. The main tank will take the boss first and use AMS or mirror broken images for every breath. In the meantime, the off tank will pick up any whelps that spawn, and we want to get the boss down to 30%. That's phase 1, on to phase 2, or the intermission phase. In the intermission phase, kill the whelps. They retain threat for the person tanking them when they respawn in the purple puddle. After the barrier falls, you can go and pick up the ads as a tank. The whelp tank will pick up the spine collar because they have a stacking shadow damage debuff on them, and the main tank will pick up the Drake. While tanking the Drake and Sinestra, it can be scary. Use a personal here like IBF if you need to, or ask for an external. Kill the spine collar first, do not interrupt it, use blind CCs like Gouge, etc. to do it, then kill the Drake, then back to Sinestra, repeat phase 1 as normal. The tank not tanking Sinestra will pick up the whelps and kill them at the back of the room, then run towards the boss for the whelps to be AoE cleaves down, and then they'll pick up the new set of whelps. They do this twice. After the second time the whelps are killed, you will have a tank swap, and you will do that back and forth until Sinestra dies. Remember, the whelps retain aggro on you after they die in the puddle, so just run back to the boss for cleave and melee. Enjoy your kill. On to throne. Alright, we're at Conclave. At Conclave, we're going to have two tanks, one in Anshal, one in Azir's platform. The Anshal platform, as a tank, you need to move him out of Soothing Mist. And you want to make sure that you have aggro on the ads that spawn, but kite them as fast as you can. Make sure, otherwise you get one shot. You can preemptively AMS it, but if you don't kill them quickly enough, you will still get stacks. Using Nitro Boots here is a great dub. At 75 energy, jump over to the platform to Nazir, and Nazir's tank comes to Anshal and repeats the same process. Nazir has a frontal, face them away from people or ask them not to come in front of you. You can use AMS or Mirror Broken Images. He also casts Ice Patches, move away from that. If you move them towards the corner of the room with your healer and move around the circle of the room, you shouldn't have Ice Patches in the middle, so you should keep that free for the rest of your DPS. Enjoy your kill, on to Alakir. Alright, as you move to Alakir, it's a technically three-phase encounter. In phase 1, you have to get him to 80%. Hump as much DPS as you can. Avoid the squall lines, which are the tornadoes. Avoid the ice patches on the floor, and avoid the wind burst. In 10-man, you can spread out quite cleanly to not get chain lightning, or have more than one person in it. If you can push the boss fast enough to 80%, you can avoid the wind burst completely, which is the mechanic you're going to see now. And just make sure that you line up a wind burst that you don't get hit into the tornado. In phase 2, we still have tornadoes to deal with, but we have stormlings as well. Pick up the stormlings away from your raid group and hold them, and have the DPS kill them so that we have enough stacks on Alakir to do increased damage. Pop Lust when you have enough damage. In phase 3, go all the way to the top of the boss when you fly up, and when the movement pattern is 2 up at the ceiling, then 2 down at the bottom, and then you go back up to the ceiling. So it's ceiling, down, down, floor, up, and repeat the same process until you get the kill. On to Blackwing Descent. Alright, we're at Heroic Magmaw, and the few things you need to know as a tank here is to use a cooldown during every single mangle, and then you want to have an off tank always bringing the ads towards the melee group for cleave, and then hard switch to the ads during Armageddon to kill it. This can occur during the head phase as well, so just make sure to stay on top of that, and that's pretty much it for this fight. Pretty simple as a tank. Another thing is, if you're choosing to tank swap after mangle, you can do that. However, just make sure to taunt the boss after the head phase because it resets aggro. That's it. Enjoy your kill. On to the next boss. Alright, we want to start off with a few things with Omnitron defense system. You always never want to break a shield, and you want to try and position bosses in either the poison clouds if it's safe, or near the power generators if it's safe. You want to move Toxitron to the side because ads can spawn and they can't target a tank. You want to always interrupt Arcanitron and move him out of the power generators. The first one normally explodes, but try and position it so that melee can reach it as well. Move Electron towards a power generator or a poison cloud if possible. If you have Lightning Conductor, make sure that melee are standing on the other side of the boss. Just call that out. Tron, you can get targeted by flamethrower, so make sure you have people move away from you. That's pretty much it. If you have, for any reason, both bosses at once, pop a defensive cooldown like Raid Wall, IBF, etc. That's a kill. On to the next boss. Alright, for Chimeron, we're using a 2-tank strategy where we have one tank take all the breaks, the other tank taunts for doubles, as you just saw now. When that happens, after the double animation, the main tank or the break tank will taunt back. During feud, the current tank holding the boss can just hold Chimeron with cooldowns and externals, or alternatively, the doubles attack tank can take the boss for the entire duration with externals and cooldowns. Do that, and go back to normal. Or you can have the doubles attack tank take the breaks for the second phase until the second feud and swap back and forth. Find a tanking strat that works for you, but that's pretty much it for tanks. In phase 3, pop Lust, and just keep note, this is a blood DK, that blood shield does not count as a healing reduction, so you can have big blood shields that keep you alive for a long time. That's the kill. On to the next boss. For Atramedes Heroic, we Lust on pull and we use gongs because we have a lot of DPS, so we use 2 on pull. We've actually up to 3, but the safe way to do that is use gongs for every Searing Flame, and as a tank, all you have to do is dodge swirlies and kite the beam in the air phase if you get it, which looks like this. Apart from that, that's a pretty easy kill. On to the next heroic boss. Maloriak Heroic. It starts off with the black phase and can alternate between red and blue phase, and it ends with green phase. In the black phase, he spawns these little ads that can be picked up at the off tank. Just make sure people move out of the goo on the floor. At this time, he also casts Arcane Stone, which always needs to be kicked. He also casts a frontal, during which you cannot be healed as a tank, so it's a good time to use your trinkets like Mirror or AMS if you're Blood DK, or ask for externals to stay alive, and you can only be healed within a 2-second window outside of that. You want to face the boss towards the rest of the raid in the red phase, and you want to spread out in the blue phase, all the while which you have the off tank pick up aberrations that are a cast that is that you saw going through now. In the green phase, you can AMS the debilitating slime, so you can save a cooldown. Pop Lust, kill the ads, and pull the boss to the side of the room, and the other 2 ads or any remaining ads away from the boss with the off tank. And all you have to do here is just sidestep the Magma Jets cast that you're going to see happen in a moment. And once you sidestep that, you just want to rotate the boss slowly around the room, dodging every single Magma Jet, and that's the kill. Enjoy. Alright, Nefarian, welcome to the hardest boss of the tier, arguably. What to keep to know here, we're going to 2-tank the strategy. We're not going to Lust on pull. It's important to know that as soon as you jump off, the encounter starts, so you got to make sure to taunt Onyxia right away. You can either have the group stack on Onyxia's left leg, the back of it, to avoid the electrocute debuff, or you can position the boss a certain way. When Nefarian lands here, it's important to taunt, get aggro, and pop defensive cooldowns. You want to roll them, not stack them. So you want to use IBF, for instance, followed by Pain Sub, followed by Sack, and not stack them all together. In phase 1, the off tank will pick up the ads and pull them out to the outside of the room, the outer rim, and that's important because the spark in phase 3 will target where the ads were last, and you don't want the ads in melee because it spawns fire. Keep that in mind for phase 3. In phase 2, you want to run out with Explosive Cinders, which can come on a tank and run back in, or be gripped in if you have a priest on your platform. You also at this time want to make sure that no casts go off, and that's pretty much all of it for phase 2. In phase 3, you want to make sure that you position where the ads are away from, so Nefarian's head is away from the ads, and you want to rotate the boss as the off tank will kite the ads, so that you never allow the off tank to pass Nefarian's head. So you can see I'm always looking where the off tank is and positioning accordingly to make sure that I don't get hit by that. In this meantime, you always want to use a defensive cooldown for every crackle that you see going off here. Now the off tank has the hardest part of the fight. As a main tank, you're just using defensive cooldowns and rotating the boss. The off tank needs to do a little bit of strategic kiting. Here's what that looks like. So the sparks will always hit where the ads were last. The ads lose energy the longer they are out of fire, and that can farm from either the Shadow Blaze Spark, which is a channel to cast, as you can see here. So when it starts to cast, he'll move the mobs away. They lose energy and reset. You want to keep them out of Nefarian's face for the Dragon Frontal and out of the fire, and eventually they reset and they do less damage as they reset. This is the hardest part of the fight, so you need to communicate with your main tank to make sure that Nefarian is never facing you as an off tank, and keep kiting and use personal cooldowns as the fight gets more hectic towards the end. Enjoy your kill. That's all of tier 11. If you like this kind of content, I would deeply appreciate a subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think of content like this, where it's sort of fast-paced and we're trying to just give you the TLDR tanking bits. Enjoy tier 11, guys. Thanks so much for all the support, and I have more videos coming out soon on different strategies for the current tier, and we'll be doing all of Firelands and Dragon Soul as well. Stay tuned. Much love.